Hello everyone, and welcome to this Diablo 3 dungeon guide for the Demon Hunter Embodiment of the Marauder set. We'll be going over how to set up your character, and I'll also explain how to complete both primary dungeon objectives. Keep watching until the end to see a full playthrough of the entire set dungeon with additional tips. To get started, let's first take a look at the set bonuses so we'll know how to gear out our character. This set revolves around the Sentry skill, giving you bonus damage for each active Sentry you have summoned. Sentries also mimic some select skills when you cast them, including Multi-Shot, which is the main damage dealing skill we have chosen in the build. By using Companion, you will get the benefit of all of the skill's runes, giving you extra buffs and additional companions at your side that will deal extra damage, and most importantly, will provide fodder to distract monsters in the dungeon. You will be casting both Multi-Shot and the Sentry skill pretty frequently. However, both of these skills cost a decent amount of hatred, and Sentry also comes with a cooldown. Therefore, cooldown reduction and resource cost reduction will be the key focus areas for the gearing and skills setup. In this setup, we are using all 6 of the set pieces in the helm, shoulders, torso, hands, legs, and feet slots. In the main hand slot, we have Yang's Recurve, which buffs the damage of Multi-Shot. And in the offhand slot, we have Bombardier's Rucksack, which allows extra sentries to be summoned, increasing the damage multiplier from the 6-piece set bonus. In the wrist slot, we have Reaper's Wraps, which will help to keep our hatred filled. And in the waist slot, we have Zoe's Secret, which provides damage reduction and has great synergy with the 2-piece set bonus, allowing all companions to be summoned. In the next slot, we take a Hellfire Amulet. There's several additional passive skills that you can obtain that will be useful for this dungeon. Anything that increases damage output, toughness, movement speed, or hatred generation. And in the finger slots, we have set rings Focus and Restraint, which provide increased damage and have great synergy with the playstyle of the set gear. When it comes to rerolling stats on the gear, the top priorities are cooldown reduction and resource cost reduction. Then take anything that boosts damage or survivability. For Kanai's Cube, in the weapon slot, we have Dawn, which reduces the cooldown on Vengeance, giving more frequent access to its hatred generation. In the armor slot, we take Cinder Coat for reduced resource cost and Multi-Shot, and in the jewelry slot, we have Convention of Elements for a periodic damage boost. For gems, we have a Diamond in the head slot for cooldown reduction, Emeralds in the torso and leg slots, and an Emerald in the weapon slot. For legendary gems, we have Bane of the Powerful and Zay's Stone of Vengeance for increased damage, and Molten Wildebeest Gizzard for some life regeneration in the event we take any hits. For Paragon, the main priorities are movement speed, maximum hatred, cooldown reduction, and resource cost reduction. Next, let's go over the skills. We'll be using Sentry, which is the focal point for the set. We take the Polar Station rune to help prevent monsters getting in melee range. We'll also take Multi-Shot with the Arsenal rune, which is the main damage dealing skill. Next, we have Companion, which will provide us several benefits. The rune choice doesn't matter since the 2-piece bonus provides the benefit from every rune. We'll also take Vault with the Tumble rune to provide some movement speed increase. And then Vengeance with the Seath rune for extra damage output and hatred generation. And lastly, we take a hatred generator skill, Entangling Shot, with the Justice to Serve rune. For the passive skills, we have Custom Engineering, which is mandatory if you do not have the Bombardier's Rucksack Quiver equipped. Tactical Advantage for additional movement speed, Ballistics for added damage with the Multi-Shot skill, and then Night Stalker for additional hatred generation. Now, let's go over the dungeon objectives. The first primary objective is to kill 140 enemies with 3 or more sentries active. You will naturally complete this objective without much effort. You are already motivated to cast sentries due to the 6-piece set bonus. To accomplish this objective, you'll just drop down 3 sentries at the start and then keep frequently casting them as you move throughout the dungeon. Even if you drop below the required number of 3 sentries summoned at one time, just drop them down again and keep moving forward. If you always cast the sentry skill when it's off cooldown, then you will always have enough down at one time. The second primary objective is to not allow any enemies into melee range. You'll want to keep an eye on your minimap throughout the entire dungeon. Keeping enemies at bay is the top priority. It can be easy to run into a monster's melee range if you are too aggressive about moving forward, so be very patient and take your time to clear the minimap off before moving ahead. You will have plenty of time, so you do not need to be in a rush. As you're traveling through the dungeon, when you spot a monster on the minimap, stop moving as soon as you can. Ideally, you should cast the Sentry skill to stop your forward momentum. The Sentry will help slow down any monsters advancing towards you, giving you time to blast away with Multi-Shot and kill them off before they get into melee range. And since sentries will duplicate your Multi-Shot skill, they will also provide extra damage to help clear the area. If you can get into the habit of constantly dropping down sentries like this, then it will make completing the first objective trivial. If your sentry skill is on cooldown and you need to stop your forward momentum quickly, you can alternatively cast Multi-Shot, or you can cast your hatred generator skill, Entangling Shot, by holding shift and pressing left click. Another reason to keep a close eye on the minimap at all times are rockworms, which are the biggest obstacle to completing this objective. These monsters spawn underground and are initially untargetable. When you get in range of one, they will usually very quickly, and sometimes erratically, move to directly beneath your feet before popping up to strike at you. Luckily, the multiple pets from your companion skill and your sentries from the sentry skill will often provide an alternative target for the rockworms. You should also assign a follower to serve as an extra target. The Templar is the best choice, since he will get into melee range to draw aggro while you stay at a distance. Even though the rockworms spawn underground, you can still see their location via the minimap, where all monsters are designated with a skull. The best way to deal with rockworms is to kill off monsters at range to keep your minimap clear of clutter. Any remaining skulls will be a rockworm, and then you can deal with them accordingly. When near one, stand still to bait it to come towards you. Watch your minimap to see them rush to a new location, usually beneath your feet, where they will pause for a moment before coming out of the ground. When they reach a new location, move away out of melee range and let them pop up, where you can blast them with multi-shot. Ideally, you either move backward or sidestep. If you move forward, make sure you keep clearing any other monsters in the area to avoid getting within their melee range. Also keep in mind that rockworms may move multiple times while underground, so you may have to bait them several times before they pop out. Next, let's take a look at the dungeon map. The dungeon has a pretty convoluted layout. There are several different routes you can take, and regardless of what path you choose, you will have to do some backtracking. In order to avoid having to think about what area of the dungeon you're in, I found it best to just hug the right side wall all the way around, covering the offshoots as you go. Then, when you're done with the entire loop, head to the interconnecting middle areas to clear out the remaining enemies. With this approach, you can focus on the minimap, making sure to avoid melee range and discern rockworms from other monsters. Luckily, the rockworms spawn in the same locations with every dungeon attempt. You will encounter all of the 9 total rockworms during step 1, so you won't have to worry about any as you're finishing off the dungeon. So now that you have the setup and you know how to approach the dungeon, let's head to it. Go to Act 3, then to the Bridge of Corsic waypoint. From there, head northeast toward the middle of the Fields of Slaughter. The dungeon entrance is located on a small walkway jutting out over a large crater containing exposed magma. And next, we'll look at the playthrough. For this run, I went with very bare bones gear to demonstrate techniques. Any additional items or stats that you get, consistent with the recommendations earlier, will give you a much easier time completing the dungeon. Once inside the dungeon, head to the first area and start dropping down your sentries. Watch your minimap and clear out the monsters, because there is a rockworm here right off the bat. Bait him towards you, stay at a distance, and take him down. As you leave this area, you should have at least 3 sentries down. If you notice you're getting a little low on hatred, use your companion or vengeance skills to get a refill. Here's the second rockworm. Bait, step back, kill. Rockworm number 3, and he went for the sentry, making for an easy kill. When you reach a larger pack of monsters, make sure you drop a sentry to help slow them down. This is particularly important if you don't have enough damage to kill monsters quickly. Here's the fourth rockworm. We were a little too aggressive there, nearly getting into melee range. It's easy to have a mentality where you fire a shot and immediately start running with the arrows in the air, but it's best to first confirm kills before moving too close. Here's rockworm number 5. Step back and let him feast on the companions. This is the first major offshoot from the main path. We're just following that right side wall around as we watch the minimap. And another rockworm. Step back and kill. While you wait for a rockworm to pop out of the ground, it might be a good time to cast Entangling Shot a few times to regenerate some hatred, especially if your companion and vengeance skills are on cooldown. At the end of the offshoot, we turn around and head back to the main path. Cast Vault and leverage the 2-second run speed increase from the Tactical Advantage passive skill. And here's the second major offshoot. Keep dropping sentries to help clear the minimap. And there's rockworm number 7. Another rockworm rushing toward us. Run back, shoot at a distance. The elites in this dungeon can cast ice bombs, which will freeze you in place for several moments if you get caught by one. Make sure you watch out for those because a monster could encroach on melee range while you're frozen. And here's the last rock worm. Bait him out, step back, and kill. Having the follower, the sentries, and all the extra companions really helps deal with the rockworms. And the first primary dungeon objective is complete. All that remains is clearing out the remaining enemies. Even though there are no more rockworms, make sure you stay disciplined and don't lose focus on watching the minimap. There's plenty of time left, so there's no need to rush. Here's the third and final main offshoot. And now we head to the middle of the map to finish clearing. Since we made sure to clear all the monsters as we went through the dungeon, there won't be any stragglers to chase after. And we're done. Good luck trying to finish this one. If you enjoyed the guide and would like to see more content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.